Bridgewater is a four-year private liberal arts college. Around 15, well, probably 16 to 1650 students. We offer licensure in about 15, 16 different areas within the four-year program. And our graduates are endorsed at the end of the 4 years in their initial endorsement.
EMU is a small liberal arts, faith-based, well, a Christian college, and we have about 850 undergraduates. We have a master's degree program that's in education, and we graduate about 30 or 35 undergraduates in teacher education in, oh, I don't know, 10 endorsement areas a year. So we're the little guys on the block. And we're on the other side of town, in the same town as these guys.
Our offices are about 5 minutes apart, actually. And we are James Madison University. We have about 17,000 students, about 1,200 active in our education program at any given year. We graduate or have completers about 350 a year. We have about 12 different programs available to our students, and we have 2 undergraduate programs, and the rest are all graduate programs in education. And it's part of my job. We are part of the unit, so it's my office is sort of the umbrella for all the education programs at Madison.
Mary Baldwin College has another unique feature. It's a single gender college. It's a women's college, kind of south of these other folks. We have about 800 residential students. It's called the Residential College for Women. But in teacher education and teacher licensure, we have this other arm that has become really a mainstay of our program. It is the adult degree program arm. And we have centers actually all across the state that do a multitude of programs, but a big portion of that is teacher licensure and teacher education. And that program is co-ed. That's not single gender. And then we also have a master's degree program in education as well, both an MAT and an MED. MAT for licensure folks, MED for people who are already licensed and practitioners in their colleges. So in spite of being quite small, we're fairly complicated, and we're really working real hard to try to get that more coordinated. I couldn't help but think a while ago about how the conversation regarding forms. We've had a little renegade situation at Mary Baldwin in the fact that our master's program has not used the consortium documents. They had developed their own documents and wanted to do that. We've just moved over that barrier, and they've reconfigured their forms to be more compatible with our consortium documents, so we're real pleased about that.
It took a former superintendent to come in and clean up the act here.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, don't pass that on to his colleagues. Okay. And as Joey mentioned earlier, she is the coordinator, and James Madison does keep track of all the data, the forms, because they have the support staff to do it, and the other three of us just do not have that. So we do appreciate that part of it, that James Madison does supply the support for our consortium as well as our teacher ed programs. The last part I want to touch on is the evaluation of our training. The forms are in your handbook. We have session 1, we have or day 1. The morning, afternoon is divided into, we get feedback about the process, we get what they liked about the morning session, what they did not like about the afternoon session. So you see those comments that are on the different pages. For example, we like the way you move us around. Good comment. Further down there, you say, we moved around too much. So what do you do? So, but we, as mentioned earlier, we do take this and look at them, evaluate, and say, okay, this is where we need to change it up a little bit, maybe move it in the afternoon, move it the people around a little bit more. We do use it. We do look at these and evaluate about our training for future sessions. And as we mentioned, we do one session in April and one session in November, so twice a year. You the moderator for the questions?
So do you have any other questions? Yes.
Question about the November and April. Help me out. I'm thinking, are the April mentors or cooperating teachers you guys want, are those the ones that are going to be for the following?
They can be trained at any time, and they don't have to be in the works to have a student teacher at all. We just send out the information to the school divisions, and people who want to be trained sign up for that. They have to be approved by their principal, by their central office, and by the steering committee. And we also have on our steering committee a principal, or an assistant principal now, and one or two PK-12 teachers. And they are very, very important to serve on the steering committee, the folks from the public schools. They keep us real. They're not about to let us go off into ivory tower. We hope we wouldn't do that anyway, but they keep us real. They are so important, and one of our public school teachers has been on the steering committee since its inception. And we meet once a month. And Vicki brings us popcorn. And she wasn't there last time, so I made the popcorn. It wasn't as good as hers, but we had the popcorn. It's very important to our meeting. Yes?
Is there a criteria that the principals have to follow in order to approve somebody that wants to be a cooperating teacher?
Yes, the application is on your desk, and it tells you the requirements. So they have to have, they have to be on continuing contract, and they have to have at least 3 years of experience, and it lists the type of teacher that they need to be. And yes, they have to sign off on it. What we tell the teachers when they come to us, and what we tell the principals is, this is not something to fix bad teachers. Send us your best teachers. They are the ones that can benefit from this training. It's not going to help a bad teacher because I guess sometimes they don't know. They're not providing the type of experience that the student teachers need to have. And when I say being a bad teacher, that's what I mean, that they're not going to provide the kind of experience that we expect our student teachers to have. So don't send us teachers that you think are going to say, oh, welcome, I'll see you in 8 weeks. You know, that's not a help. Or don't send us wonderful teachers who aren't going to give up their classroom, because that's not going to be a good situation either. So, you know, and the principals know that. And I was talking to an HR person on Friday, and I said, so just how much input do your principals have on who gets trained and who actually has student teachers? And he said, they absolutely have the final word. And so they know. And when I send the information out to the school divisions, and then they send it on out to their principals, and they then make the recommendations. Yes?
How long have you performed checklists and descriptors?
We created the descriptors when we've been using the form for 10 years. Since 95 or 96. And we got together the arts and sciences people from the different institutions, the education people, the clinical faculty, and we created the descriptors.
And then we in 2004, 2005, we did the second version of it with the STEM, with the STEP grant, and that one, and we changed it, changed the categories. And actually, the original form had the numbers going 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. And now we have them going down this way because we didn't want the visual of the 3 in the middle. Because we found that a lot of teachers, it was easy for people to say, I don't want them to be in the middle, so they put everything to the left. And so, because we wanted people to read the descriptors, and that was part of the feedback we got from clinical faculty. And so we have it all in a row, so it wasn't as easy for, and that's part what we got from HR people too, was we want to just, we looked and we saw anything, we wanted everything to be to the left. And so it was like, well, then why do we have descriptors? Why don't we just have numbers, and you really want everything to be a 5 or a 4? So we changed it and put it up and down, so it was harder to see things where people would read the descriptors. But in 2005, we've been using this form as it is since, I think, 2005. But it was a project by people from EMU, JMU, and clinical faculty people coming together. I don't think anybody from Bridgewater was able to be that. I was the person from the steering committee to represent all of us.
Do you have any input in terms of the final placement? So in other words, can you match your students to the cooperating teachers?
The question is, can we match our students to the cooperating teachers? We make specific requests for clinical faculty. And we get together. This year, it's March 25th, and we look at which institution has had which clinical faculty for the past 3 years. And then we say, well, we want them this year, and somebody may want to have a particular teacher every year. However, if the rest of us have somebody who can fit with that one, then you don't get that because we share them. And this is really important for us. We don't fight over clinical faculty. We get together, it's called the draft. We get together, we have a nice lunch, and then we spend the next 2 or 3 hours deciding who we are going to request, and the divisions are aware of this. So generally, we get who we request. Sometimes for some reason, of course, you know how it is, you don't get everybody you request because there's something going on for whatever reason. But they do, for the most part, try not to give a clinical faculty requested by one of us, by Bridgewater, to EMU or JMU because they know we have met. And these are the requests that we are all making. And we're not going to be making a request for somebody else's clinical faculty. Yes? We'll buy her a nice dinner. That was a testimonial from one of our clinical faculty folks who's here about the value of her working with, well, her own feelings about it, her working with the student teachers, and the value it had to her own teaching. Any other questions? Well, we thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And I think David brought some